so many times in a mom's life, we are afraid to put boundaries around our children because we're like, oh, it's going to upset them and all that. But really and truly, boundaries bring security. I've said that so many times. And it's the truth. A child knows, okay, I can go this far, but I can't go that far. And that helps them feel secure, even though we think, oh, that's going to stifle their creativity or whatever. It's not. It's actually going to make them a more confident, secure person. I don't need to feel guilty for setting a boundary. Jesus set boundaries. And, like whenever he'd be with everybody, like multitude of people, and he would get away to pray, that's a boundary. He's like, okay, I'm not going to do any more ministry right now. I'm not going to heal any more people. I know there's still sick people out there. I know there's still people that need me, but I'm going to get away and I'm going to go off and be with the Father. Hey everybody, welcome to Wire Talk. Today I'm going to be talking about the top 5 books that I think every parent needs to read. Whether you have toddlers or teenagers, these books are going to help create a healthier family and a better mom or dad. All right, let's jump in.
Hey there, moms, and welcome back to another episode of Wire Talk. We are so glad you're here today. Sitting next to me is the most wonderful, amazing Karen Stubbs. Hey, Mom.
Hey, Em. How are you?
Good. I'm supposed to say, and I'm your host, Emily Krosick.
Is that what you're supposed to say?
I think they say that you're supposed to introduce yourself as the host.
Oh, well.
I mean,
y'all, this is Emily Krosick, my daughter.
Yeah, what's up? But also, I'm like, they really... Not that they don't care about me, but they mostly care about what you're going to say.
I think everybody cares about you. I've been hearing great things on your hosting ability. I just think you're tired because you just got back from a Disney trip.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, listen, you can't make this stuff up. I was like in such a good mood this morning, which I'm still in a good mood.
Right.
But I was like, okay, I got up early, back in real life.
Looks like you washed your hair.
I washed my hair. I did my makeup all before the kids got to bed. Woke up.
Wow.
So, I really was killing it.
That's impressive.
It is impressive. So I took this video on my phone. I feel so dorky, but I did. And I was like, all right, I did it. The kids are dressed. We're ready to go. I'm ready. I've got all my outfits planned for the podcast. And then I start loading the kids up and I go to look for my keys.
Not there.
So we just got a new car like 7 months ago. And so when we bought our car, they're short on keys. So they only gave us one key. So my key to my car is at the Atlanta airport because Brian left this morning, or when this happened, he left this morning to go and he will be gone till next Friday.
Okay, let's back up. They're short on keys.
They're
and
short
you
on
only
keys.
got one.
Yes.
Did they ever say they'd send you another?
They said they would send us another one when they got more. And so I texted Brian. I was like, you need to follow up on my spare key.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's not their fault that I lost my key and left it in the truck.
No, but you need 2 keys.
But I need 2 keys.
I'm constantly losing one of my keys.
Yes. So anyways, so then I called you and I'm like, I don't have my keys. So then Dad woke up. He was already watching the kids this morning, but...
No, he had already worked out and everything.
I know, but that's why he needed a shower.
Yeah.
So he took a shower, came to pick me up. So now he's being awesome Graggy and taking them to the haircuts, and the cousins are going to come over and play. But anyways, we're here.
You're here. We're here. And I'm excited about our topic today.
I know. We're talking about 5 books that you've enjoyed reading.
Not that just enjoyed. I think they are instrumental in just really understanding your children.
Yeah. So it's your top 5 parenting books.
Yeah.
Yes. And we're going to kind of dive into like what 5 books that you liked and why you liked them and what season of mom is it good for?
Yeah.
So yes, I think it'll be good.
I'm ready.
Are you do you like reading in general?
Not really.
Me neither.
And I know that surprises a lot of people because I'm a writer. But I read at the beach.
Yeah.
And usually when I read at the beach, it's fiction, or I love that World War II era.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why, but I do. I just think those people were so heroic.
They were.
And I just love reading all the stories. But they're sad. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not a big reader on a whole.
I was never really a reader. And then the small amount of times where I do have like a moment to myself, especially if we're at the beach and I don't have the kids, I love to read a book.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I'm like, I just don't want to look at everything that's going on, and I like to sit down and read. It's just
relaxing.
Yeah. But I probably need to get better at reading some good parenting
Well,
books.
these 5 books really and truly helped me in my mothering journey. And I was not a big reader. Like, I didn't, back whenever I was having y'all, people were writing blogs and stuff like that. And I just didn't read all that stuff because it got confusing. And, so this person says this person doesn't say to do that, and this one, and they conflict each other. So I listened to my pediatrician, and I listened to my mom.
Yeah.
And the Bible. Yeah. And those 3 things were sort of my guide.
And I'm not trying to be like you're old, but they didn't also have the internet.
Well, no, but they had a ton of books.
No, I know. I'm saying like you could just like Google, what do I do with this sleep regression? You couldn't do that. No. Which is kind of a blessing.
It is a blessing.
Because sometimes the Googles.
It's too much.
It's too much. Okay. So let's go on in and start talking about the first book that you felt like was instrumental in your mothering/parenting journey.
Yes. And if those of y'all that have followed me for a while, y'all know what I'm getting ready to say. Personality Plus for Parents. Emily's got a copy of it here.
I love how worn they are.
Oh, yeah. Especially boundaries.
Okay. Personality Plus. No. Yeah. For parents. This is it. Here, you hold it. Oh, these mics sometimes get in our way.
All right. Personality Plus for Parents by Florence Littauer. So this is a new copy, but I had gotten this book after I had Kelsey, and I read it. But Kelsey and I are sort of similar, and then I got you too. It wasn't till I had Taylor that I got the book back out. I was talking to my friend Jackie, and I just said, I don't understand Taylor. And he growls at people at church, and I don't understand why. He's such a sweet little boy, but then we get in front of people, and he just turns into this, leave me alone kind of kid. And I just didn't understand him. He perplexed me. So she suggested that I get this book back out and start back reading it. And so I did. And I'm telling you, it's a game changer. It's about the temperaments. Now, in the book, she talks about melancholy, sanguine, phlegmatic, and choleric. And I talk about red, yellow, blue, and green. Okay. So red is choleric, green is phlegmatic, blue is melancholy, and yellow is sanguine. So, but you can see I've highlighted throughout. Oh, yeah. It's a big deal.
So you read it first before you had Kelsey. Then you kind of shelved it till you had Taylor. And then which friend told you to get it back out and read it?
Jackie.
Oh, Jackie.
So sweet. She lives in California now. But anyways, she was about 10 years older than me. And she just said, I think if you could learn his temperament, it will really help you, because I believe she was saying, I think you and Taylor are opposite, which we 100% are. So I had to learn him because I did not understand the little guy.
So if a mom is searching, they're like, okay, you've got 5 books. Why would a mom pick up this book? What is this going to help them with as they're parenting?
This is going to help them understand their temperament and what their strengths, their weaknesses, what works for them, what doesn't work for them, why they act the way they act. So instead of you thinking, oh, my child's just being obstinate, maybe they are a red and you think they're just so strong-willed and they just always want their way, you can learn tricks and tips on how to work with the red temperament.
You read that book?
And for me, it just really helped me understand Taylor, and not only understand him, but not think he was just so weird, because he wasn't weird. He was just a very high blue, especially as a 3-year-old. When he was sort of coming into his own personality, he was reacting to things like very differently than a yellow would. So I just didn't understand him.
So it kind of helps you also figure out your child's strengths and weaknesses.
100%.
So that's very helpful.
I learned how to parent towards his strengths and not his weaknesses. Because we can always find what's wrong with our kids and then just stay on that the whole time. But that's not good for your child. No.
And it's not good for you either.
It's really not.
Yeah, because you're just really going to be like,
and some kids you just get along better with, and some kids you just have to work harder for.
Like, did it give you, like, you said specific examples and tips and tricks? Was it kind of like they gave you like certain ways to word things, or how did it? Can you give an example of a tip or a trick that it helped you with?
Well, like, for instance, Taylor growling at people at church. Okay. I realized from the book that blues don't like attention on them, and that makes them uncomfortable. So his growling was a defensive mechanism. So I just talked to Taylor and I just said, okay, growling's a bit harsh. Let's dial it back. And if but you don't have to, be, hi, how are you? Kind of thing. That's how I would have handled it. So I said, why don't you just, when they say, good morning, Taylor, you can just look at them and nod. And that's all you have to do. And I started educating people around me that were in Taylor's life all the time. And I just said, like his teacher, preschool teacher at church, I just said, if you will just not make a big deal about Taylor whenever I get him there to the room, he will go in, he will find a truck or a train and start playing with it. He'll be fine. He will engage when he's ready.
Okay.
And she was like, okay, good to know. And usually teachers are like, okay, if that works for your son, I'm happy to do it.
Absolutely.
Another thing I learned in the book is that really just what Taylor's desires were. Like, he didn't like to be sung happy birthday. So
he still doesn't like to sing.
No, and so I had to stop doing that, because his first and second birthday, he just cried the whole way through. But then I read the book and I'm like,
he doesn't like it.
That's attention, and he doesn't like that. That makes total sense. As he grew up, time was very important to him. He wanted to be on time, which was like 10 to 15 minutes early. So I had to be aware of that. In a Yellow's world, 10 minutes late, you're on time,
That's
right. And it was like, nope, that doesn't work. So just little things like that really helped me. Also, they're very inwardly focused, and they're very sensitive and thoughtful. And so me making little funny jokes and sort of sliding things off, he did not appreciate that. So I had to stop doing that.
Harper is my little bit of a tricky one because I think she's red, but I also think she's blue.
Oh, 100%.
And sometimes that blue, I just don't understand because I'm green-yellow and I literally have zero blue in me at all.
Yeah.
So I'll be like, oh, you're such a silly goose. And she will get so sad.
They don't like that.
And I'm like, but then she can make the joke and it is funny. It just doesn't.
Well, blues you'll find when you start reading things.
Oh, so you're telling me I need to read the book?
Yeah,
okay.
that they contradict themselves all the time.
Do you think Harper's definitely red?
I think Harper is a red-blue. And I'll tell you how I figured out she was a blue. I was watching her one time and we were coloring and she kept saying, I don't like this. It's not perfect.
Yes.
And I was like, wow. Later on, I was like, she said the word perfect so many times while we were doing that. And I was like, she's blue. Because a yellow, you'll never hear a yellow say that.
That's perfect. Yeah. Or it's more like, it's great. It's perfect.
It's fine.
She likes for me to pull up a picture of what she's coloring, the exact picture, so she can get it exactly the way it's supposed to be.
Yep. And that's blue.
Okay. Well,
Once again, that's not a yellow trait.
Yeah, no. I think one time I was like, I think she's yellow, and you just kind of let me believe.
I said, no, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Hey moms, it's Katie. Karen's speaking calendar is full for 2024, but we're officially opening up her calendar for 2025 for new bookings. Karen would love to come teach her life-changing content on temperaments, discipline, and all things motherhood to the moms in your community. If you're part of a church or an organization that's looking for a phenomenal speaker for your next moms event or for your annual conference, head to our website, birdsonawiremoms.com/invite, and fill out our simple inquiry form. We'd love to partner with you to bring Karen and her practical parenting wisdom to your town. Again, head to birdsonawiremoms.com/invite and fill out an inquiry form today. Okay, let's get back to the show.
Speaking of colors, we've got our second book that you would highly recommend.
Yes.
What is that book?
A Grown-Up's Guide to Kids Wiring by Kathleen Edelman.
Okay.
We don't have a copy of that book. I have it in the office. I just can't find it. But she studied underneath Florence Littauer.
Oh, I don't think I knew that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And even toured around with her while Florence was speaking and stuff like that. But Kathleen has really dug deep on the temperaments. And she wrote a book, I Said This, You Heard That. And then A Grown-Up's Guide for Kids Wiring is her second book. And I just think it is an essential tool for parents. It's just sort of the modern day version. So if you had to get one, maybe get A Grown-Up's Guide for Kids Wiring. They just asked me what my top 5 books were.
Absolutely.
So, but Kathleen will go into detail on, like, if you ever read, say this, not that.
Okay.
or do this, not that. And that's helpful as a parent because we're so many times we're like, what do? I don't know. I'm trying to do the right thing, but what we think is right is through our filter of our color. So it's best to figure out what to do right with the color of your child. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, yeah.
So that strengths and weaknesses, how to respond, and then what to say and what not to say, I think are so helpful.
And I think that works for a mom at any stage.
Oh, whether they're toddlers or teenagers or adults.
Yeah.
I'm still learning things with you guys, truly.
Yeah. I also love Kathleen multiple times in her books or whatever. And what I've heard her say is you can't just be like, oh, I'm this, so that's why I'm doing this. Like she gives you ways to work towards, not letting your weaknesses define you. And I really think that's helpful.
And with Kathleen and Florence Littauer, they're both Christians, and they both say, this is what we are in our flesh. This has nothing to do with the Holy Spirit working in our lives. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So we all have to take that account. Just because as a yellow, I'm an impulsive person naturally, doesn't mean I'm going to stay impulsive. I need to lean into the Holy Spirit and really pray that God will help me not be so impulsive.
Right. Yeah. I think that's a really good lens to think about it with. So then the next book I think I've heard you talk about maybe a bajillion times because you also love this author, and it is Boundaries with Kids by Henry Cloud and John Townsend. Like I remember you
Dr. Henry Cloud.
Dr. Henry Cloud.
John Townsend.
Sorry, doctors.
Yeah, this one is tried and true. Boundaries with kids. There's boundaries in your marriage. There's boundaries, just boundaries. I mean, y'all, this book is highlighted, underlined throughout. I get this out all the time. This is so good. And boundaries with kids, so many times in a mom's life, we are afraid to put boundaries around our children because we're like, oh, it's going to upset them and all that. But really and truly, boundaries bring security. I've said that so many times. And it's the truth. A child knows, okay, I can go this far, but I can't go that far. And that helps them feel secure, even though we think, oh, that's going to stifle their creativity or whatever. It's not. It's actually going to make them a more confident, secure person.
Yeah. That's awesome. So what is something that you found like super helpful about this book when you read it? And when was the first time you read it?
I don't even remember. I really don't. I think the biggest thing is I don't need to feel guilty for setting a boundary.
Say it again, Mom.
I don't need to feel guilty for setting a boundary. Jesus set boundaries. And, like whenever he'd be with everybody, like multitude of people, and he would get away to pray, that's a boundary. He's like, okay, I'm not going to do any more ministry right now. I'm not going to heal any more people. I know there's still sick people out there. I know there's still people that need me. But I'm going to get away and I'm going to go off and be with the Father. I need to connect with him. And that's a boundary that he set. He, set a boundary with the Pharisees, and only let them go so far. You know what I'm saying? So I just think boundaries are for everyone. I think your children need them, and we need them in our lives. We need them with our friends. We need them in our marriage. We need them with our in-laws. We need them with our children. We need them everywhere. And it's not that, so many Christians feel like, oh, that's so mean to say you can't do this. But you have to just remember it's keeping the good in and the bad out, if that makes sense.
I got a lot of reading to do this summer.
Well, just one book at a time.
One book at a time. I can do that.
Yeah.
So then your next book is The Birth Order by Kevin Lehman. And we do not have that book, so you can't see a picture of the cover.
No.
But what have you enjoyed about this book? And do you remember the first time you read it?
I think I read that book in the 2000s.
Okay.
I was a little bit later to the game. But all of y'all, probably Abby was in preschool, kindergarten, first grade, and then all of the rest of y'all were up from there. But I just thought it was fascinating. The traits of an oldest, the middle, the youngest, and as a parent, like just to understand this is why your child acts the way they act. This is why, like, it's so funny because I've always wanted a convertible. And in the book, Kevin Lehman, I think he's the baby. In the book, he said, babies like convertibles because they're fun. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I know you may be thinking, well, Mom, you're not the baby. You're the third out of 4 girls in your family. Right. But my youngest sister, Ricky, is 7 years younger than me. Mm-hmm. So he says in the book, I think it's 5 years. If 5 years lapse in between 2 children, the birth order starts over again.
No way.
So really, Ricky has the traits of a firstborn and an only child.
And the baby too?
And the baby too. She's got it all going on.
Oh, wow.
Yep. Really,
That's
she has
really
more traits of a firstborn and an only child.
Because y'all were so much. Okay, so if you
7 years younger.
If you were 7, how
Fran was 12.
That's a big difference.
And Michelle was 9.
So I'm thinking like the 7th grader and a baby. That's how I'm thinking about it. That's a big difference.
When Fran went to college, Ricky went to kindergarten.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah. So really, we had 2 families in my family. We had Michelle, Fran, and myself, and then we had Ricky. But Ricky and I had a special bond because she and I shared a room throughout when she was little, she had her own room, but she would always come in to my room at night. And so then whenever Mom and Dad moved up to Forsyth County and they built the house and all that, they put us together. So I have people all the time speaking, they're like, I'm sure you don't know this person, but you look and talk just like Ricky Craze. And I'm like, that's my sister. But it's almost like she imprinted on me, like a little baby duck, because we were together all the time. Mm-hmm. And so, but there's really sort of, now since we've gotten to be adults, we don't have 2 separate families, it's just one.
Right, yeah.
And even Fran and Ricky have grown closer over the years and all that. But Ricky had to, get
Grow
to be an
adult.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's not too much that a college student has in common with a kindergartner.
Yeah, I can see that.
But as adults, they have a lot in common.
So, well, just so you know, I'm the middle child, and I love a convertible, probably more than Abby does.
Oh, yeah. True that.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
It does bring me super happiness when I get to drive your convertible.
Yes.
That's a different story for a different time. So, birth order. Do you think it's beneficial for a mom who might have older kids to read this book, or is it more for the younger moms?
Oh, no. I think it's for y'all were a little bit older whenever I started reading birth order books.
So it's every mom.
Oh, yeah. I think it's every mom.
I see a theme with all these books.
Every mom.
Every mom. I think because you're never not going to be a mom. Your kids are never going to not need you. In different ways. It's
always good to keep learning
You're
about them.
always learning about them. You know what I mean? So it's very interesting. So, and then our last book is the 5 love languages, the 5 love languages of children. And I've read the 5 love languages for adults, but honestly, I don't think I realized that there was one for kids. And man, this is well loved.
Oh, I'm telling you.
It says Emily Blanket. What is it?
Emily Blanket?
Yeah. Now I lost it. It says, let your child hold or cuddle a soft item such as a blanket to soothe them. Do you know what's so funny is my love language is physical touch, and I sleep with a Pooh Bear every single night.
Well, the reason I said Emily Blanket is because when you were little, a baby, now you weren't an infant, but you were old enough to be able to pull things on or off. Y'all don't judge me whenever I tell y'all this story. But Emily would cry in the car, and the only thing that would get you to stop crying is if I had these burp cloth diapers.
Yes.
They are fabric, and if I would throw one of those on your face, you were out. It was the craziest thing. And it drove your dad crazy because he's like, she can't breathe. And I said, she can breathe. And not only that, if she can't breathe, she can pull it off of her face. You were old enough to where you knew, I mean, if somebody can't breathe, they're going to pull off whatever's on their face. But I said, this is what Emily likes. And even now, sometimes you sleep with, on your stomach with a pillow over your head, right?
I sleep on my stomach with my hands tucked underneath my body, and my head is underneath my pillow.
Yeah.
Right?
You
It's
like
what
to
is
be
your
covered
problem?
up.
I do. It does make me feel secure.
Yeah. So he wrote about it.
I love it.
So then I showed Greg this. I'm like, look, this is why we do this, But I mean, I didn't know that was the reason why when I read the book, but I just figured that out. I don't know how I figured it out, but I did. And then I was like, don't touch the diaper. But then later you replace the diaper with your blanket.
Yes.
You remember your blanket?
Oh, I do remember. I love my blanket. It was so sweet. So, do you think there's a difference between your love languages, like between you and your husband and then you and your kids? Like, do you think that's a different love language? Did you learn any of that in the book?
Oh, yeah. Well, your dad and I did the 5 love languages just for adults in a marriage small group one time.
Okay.
And light bulbs went off because your dad is acts of service and words of affirmation.
Okay.
I am gifts and quality time. So I was like, oh, that's why you help out around the house so much. But it would drive me crazy because I would just want him to come sit down and talk to me and quit working. But he wanted to help me. So he was constantly going around the house working. So I remember like working on picking up and doing all the things,
Just all the things.
A lot of women would love that if that's their love language, but it wasn't mine. And I wanted your dad to come and sit down and just be with me. And then in the middle of the small group, your dad goes, oh my goodness, so I don't have to do all this work that I'm doing all the time around the house? And I said, no, I would love it if you would just leave it and come sit down and spend time with me. And he was like, oh my goodness, well, I can do that.
That's easy.
Yeah, that's easy. So, and then I realized words of affirmation was his. And I was like, I'm not doing a very good job with that with him. But is it different between your spouse and your kids? Well, everybody's different. So, you're different from Kelsey. Abby's different from you. I had 2 of y'all that had physical touch, which was you and Abby. Physical touch is the last one on mine. So I had to always make sure, like, I really would push myself on those because gifts comes easy to me.
Which is what Kelsey is.
Yes. Quality time comes easy for me, which that's what Taylor is. Physical touch does not come easy to me. And honestly, acts of service comes fairly easy as a mom. You're constantly doing things. But Abby is also acts of service. And so I noticed every time she'd go over to Ricky, my sister's house, Ricky would have Caroline and Katie's artwork like hung up on the refrigerator or bulletin board or whatever. And Abby would always be like, why don't you ever do that for me? And, y'all'd come in from preschool and I'd just look at it and then throw the stuff away.
Yes.
And I was just like, I don't know. And so I started hanging up her artwork from preschool. Do you remember this? In our garage as you went out the back door.
I do remember that.
And she loved it. And it became like this wall.
Like a shrine to Abby's artwork.
But it just, really did. That made her feel so loved. And one time she was in high school and y'all were sort of doing your own laundry at the time. And she had it in the washing machine and dryer and it wasn't done. So I finished it, folded it all up, and I put it on her bed. And she was like, Mom, that's so sweet that you did that for me. And I was like, okay.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So it's just, that was a way I could show her I loved her. But anyways.
That's awesome. So what would your top takeaways be for this book?
Just what are the 5 love languages? What is your family members? What are you? I think it's good for you to communicate that to your husband.
Yeah.
And be like, hey, I'm time and gifts. And I don't love that I'm gifts. I really don't, but I am.
Yeah.
I 100% am.
And I think you told me one time, you're like, your gifts doesn't necessarily have to be big. Just, no. I thought of you and I got you a pack of Mentos.
Oh yeah, I thought of you and I got you unsweet tea with extra lemon from Chick-fil-A.
Oh.
That means a lot.
So what would your honorable mentions be of books that we didn't necessarily go over, but you're like, oh, these are so really, really good?
Oh, okay. I got a list of those. Well, I'm going to go ahead and put my book in there, The Survival Guide to Motherhood. It's relaunching July 30th.
Yes.
And I love the new cover.
It's so beautiful.
I love everything about it. So they did a great job, Harvest House. So Survival Guide to Motherhood.
Yes.
I want to honorable mention Parenting by the Book by John Roseman. I think he says a lot of the things that I say, so of course I like him.
Yeah, you're like, tell him.
No nonsense. You're the parent. Don't apologize. Be the parent. Sissy Goff, I love her all the way around. She's got Raising Worry-Free Girls and The Worry-Free Parent.
Yeah, that's right here too. So this is The Worry-Free Parent.
And this is Raising Worry-Free Girls.
And then this was a better idea in theory, but now I can't get the back.
And this is Parenting by the Book by John Roseman.
And then this is Wild Things by James Thomas, and that's on there too.
David Thomas. And also, David also wrote...
Stephen James and David Thomas. Got it.
Yeah. Raising Emotionally Strong Boys and Wild Things.
Yes.
David Thomas wrote those. David Thomas and Sissy Goff are just a plethora of amazing, wonderful information that people should check out all the time. Shepherding Your Child's Heart is good by Ted Tripp. Parenting Your Powerful Child by Kevin Lehman. That's on there, right? The gray one.
This one. Yeah.
And then the new Strong-Willed Child by Dr. Dobson. Dr. Dobson was sort of the leading author whenever I was raising all you guys. And I did start to read The Strong-Willed Child, but I just didn't feel like any of y'all were that strong.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really strong. But the new version is good.
Okay.
I like it.
That's good.
So,
well, and all of these will be in the show notes as well. So, you kind of took my thunder. I'm a little upset about it, but it's okay. Because I was going to give you my honorable mention.
Oh, Emily, what's your honorable mention?
My honorable mention would be Survival Guide to Motherhood, and that's your book. And it is being republished this summer, but it is so good. It is so good, and it's beautiful. Like, not only is like it's good inside, like all of the meat and the potatoes of what you're getting in this book is so great, but just like it's a pretty read. Like you're going to be like,
all right, well, let me ask you a question. Why do you think it's so good?
I think for me, because I'm not a big reader, why do I like that book? I like it because it's kind of like you're sitting with me having coffee, and it's just short and sweet to the point with some funny stories mixed in between. So I don't have to necessarily go through a lot to get the meat and the potatoes. It's just right there.
It's very practical.
It's very practical. And for me, like, because my kids are still young, I don't have all of the time in the world. And so when I'm going to read something, I need it to be quick. I need it to be good. I need it to be like there, because I don't have 30 pages to get into it and then get to my answer.
Yeah.
I need it there. And then also it's like a survival pack. Like, all right, I need something with this. So I look in the table of contents. I'm like, oh, this is what I need. I go to that and I read it. You know, It's kind of like the Moms on Call.
Yeah.
For parenthood. You know, I use Moms on Call kind of like that. Like, oh, I feel like we're in a leap. Let me see what they say about this. And I would read that chapter and then I would close it and come back to it. Or
what does that mean? We're in a leap?
Like, it's like a brain developmental leap. It's like sometimes when they have like a sleep regression or something and it changes the kid's sleep cycle or something. I haven't been in the newborn stage in a while, so I don't know. But that's kind of why I liked Moms on Call so much, because where I didn't necessarily use it everything like the Bible, like some people do, which is fine. But I used it as like a survival guide. Like, okay, what do I do with teething? Because I don't know what I'm going to do. And then I would look up teething and they would give me like 4 things to try. Right. And it just was helpful and it was easy to read. And that's how I kind of feel like about your book is it's very helpful. It's easy to read. And then also it's just going to like, it's a pickup. Like you can also put it like read it, pick it up, put it back, and whenever you need it, it's there. Yeah. So that's why I like it.
Thanks.
You're welcome. It's so good.
Didn't mean to steal your thunder.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I had like this whole moment.
Oh,
but
goodness,
it's fine.
goodness.
It's fine.
Oh, I hate when I mess up a moment.
I know. It's okay. You didn't know because I didn't communicate it to you.
There you go.
But that's relaunching in July. So I'm very excited about it. It's going to be awesome.
Really am.
So, well, that's all the books we have for us today. So, everyone, thank you so much for listening to Wire Talk. I hope that you get some good books that you are like, man, these are really good, and I can't wait to put them in my library. And like always, we cannot do this podcast without you. So thank you for always sending in your questions to info@birdsonawire.moms.com. And we cannot wait to see you next week. And we are starting a new series of The Summer Before. So stay tuned, and we'll see you next week. See ya. Bye.